Well, it's no secret, families' budgets are tight, especially at the grocery store. Sometimes picking up items and seeing the price of that item has you wanting to put it back. I'm Noah Certion, and coming up on Middle Tennessee News, you'll hear from one state representative about his bill that hopes to lower the cost of fresh fruits and vegetables. And I was able to get my hands on a copy of the library system's policy and bylaws, and in the nearly 10 pages that discuss the roles and function of the board, there's very little that talks about the search process. Well, we know there are a lot of distractions on your phone, but really one of the big concerns mental health experts have is the amount of time students spend scrolling on this. Ask any parent who shapes a child's education, and most might point to teachers, but behind every lesson, every textbook, even every iPad, there's a group of people that you might not even see often. And for this third No Kings protest, event organizers tell me they want to do things differently. If you look behind me, you can see that they have different tables all talking about different issues in Rutherford County. And organizers tell me that they hope that this brings more spotlight to the issues happening here locally.
Show me what democracy looks like! This is what democracy looks like!
Signs and chants could be seen and heard near downtown Murfreesboro Saturday. Hundreds of protesters gathered for almost 2 blocks along Broad Street, making their voices heard.
We're all concerned about the safety of America. We don't like to see brown people and black people being mistreated with racism.
We here to speak up against the people that they think we not gonna speak up. Because we scared, we not scared.
I don't see the peace in this country anymore.
People from all walks of life came together to call out President Donald Trump. But this protest was special for one girl.
I just knew from when he was president last time, things were really bad. And now that I'm older, I realize that a lot of my rights are being taken away, and I don't want to let that happen.
One veteran I spoke with says that he protested during the Vietnam War and for other causes. Now he's not pleased with the current state of America.
It's just totally un-American. It's still what my father fought in World War II over, and not what I fought in Vietnam over.
Even those driving by stood in solidarity with the protest. MTSU history professor and executive director of Indivisible Murfreesboro, Susan Myers-Shrink, says that she hopes this protest shows how many people are currently being affected by the government.
I think it really helps people to see that there are others who have these same concerns and they're united around defending democracy, defending the Constitution.
But not everyone was in support of rallies across the nation, even catching the eyes of one Tennessee lawmaker.
Could you imagine the Democrat Party calling about no kings when they literally elected their candidate for president, Kamala Harris, with no election?
And while protesters here today are getting support from those out here in the streets, they want to make their message clear today that they are a united front.
We're not fighting against each other. We're fighting for something very important. We're fighting for this country, the country that we love.
This rally marks the second No Kings protest this year, and supporters hope people know that they're here to stay.
They're trying to silence us, and we cannot be silenced. The movement is here.
Reporting in downtown Murfreesboro, Noah Certion, Middle Tennessee News.
I'd like to call to order the special called meeting of the Rutherford County Library System Board.
It was a packed room inside of the Rutherford County Courthouse Monday night as the library board discussed firing Executive Director Luann James. This after James refused to relocate over 100 books to the adult section for containing LGBTQ themes, explicit content, and diversity. The gallery was filled with a sea of purple supporting the director.
Director James understood that once you start removing books to avoid discomfort, you are no longer running a library. You are curating a narrative.
But others, dressed in white, think James should be removed.
The evil that we're striving to protect our children from appears to be present not only in books and our public libraries, but also in the people who manage them. Someone like Miss James.
James sat nearly motionless during the entire meeting, only mincing a few words before the vote came down.
I stand by my decision. I will not change my mind.
And shortly after, in an 8-3 vote, the board decided to fire Dr. James. And once the vote came out, the crowd erupted in boos and chants in support of Dr. James.
The First Amendment has just been steamrolled by this board, and they have no qualms about it. They said yes, and they're stretching as though they couldn't care less.
But one man who supports James's firing says the books in question aren't suitable for children.
To have a 6-year-old come across a book that starts showing full nudity, that starts showing the fact that a boy can be a girl, or the idea that a boy can be a girl and a girl can be a boy, at 6 years old, I don't think that's appropriate.
And right now, there is no word on a new library director. The board will come together and put up possible candidates for a new library director in the near future. But for now, reporting from the Rutherford County Courthouse, Noah Certion, Middle Tennessee News. Well, it seems these days people are spending lots of money at grocery stores, and with receipts this long and not a lot of items to show for it, one Tennessee lawmaker is hoping to cut down on the price of fresh fruits and vegetables.
Hola. Buenas tardes.
It's the end of a work week for shoppers inside of Delicias Markets in Murfreesboro. Candida Pina is picking out groceries for her family of 4, and she can't help but notice how much her bill has gone up, especially over the past few years.
It's always over like $200. It's been going up gradually along, little by little.
Now one Tennessee state representative wants to help. House Bill 2086, proposed by Rutherford County Representative Mike Sparks, would exempt fresh fruits and vegetables from the state grocery tax. Sparks says it's a win for everyone.
This right here puts savings in the hands of Tennesseans, rich, poor, young, old.
Right now, the tax on fruits and vegetables is 4%. Sparks says the bill could save Tennesseans $96 million a year. But this bill does more than just saving dollars at the checkout line.
People don't realize that Tennessee is one of the most obese states in the nation. So this piece of legislation really is an incentive to make better choices, better health outcomes.
And as Tennesseans continue to pay for groceries while dealing with an increased cost of living, shoppers say this legislation is a welcomed sight.
Yeah, tax incentives kind of is helpful, and just lowering prices on stuff if they want people to be healthier.
Aquí tiene.
In Rutherford County, Noah Certion, Middle Tennessee News. It was a busy afternoon Saturday as cars drove along Broad Street in Murfreesboro, but on the side of the road, well, there was lots of foot traffic. Over 2,100 people gathered downtown for the third No Kings protest to call out President Donald Trump and his administration. With drums and signs in hand, demonstrators say they don't like the state of the nation.
What's happening currently in our government is sort of enraging.
Jason Carrozza brought his young daughter to Saturday's demonstration as a way to get her involved in the protest. However, not everyone was in full support of No Kings. Over 10 counter-protesters held up signs in support of the president, and they say there's no king of the United States.
This is ridiculous. How they even came up with a No Kings Day is ludicrous. We have a president.
But even though they might disagree politically, Gino Matira hopes they can talk it out.
We're willing to have a conversation about it. They choose to call us fascists, racists. Couldn't be farther from the truth.
And for this third No Kings protest, event organizers tell me they want to do things differently. If you look behind me, you can see that they have different tables, all talking about different issues in Rutherford County. And organizers tell me that they hope that this brings more spotlight to the issues happening here locally.
On a national level, the country is a mess, but we can't clean up what's not in our own backyard. We can only clean up and we can only start where we are right here.
There were tables to register voters and give information about hot button issues in the county. And people say they're not being heard.
Our government officials are not listening to us. We're tired. We're tired and we're fed up.
And while those at the event hold on to hope, amplifying their message with song, protesters say they hope to amplify even the smallest voices.
I want the people that have the smallest voices to know that there are other people out here that feel the same way as them. And I don't want people to feel afraid.
Reporting in Murfreesboro, Noah Certion, Middle Tennessee News. Many people come to the Murfreesboro Police Department each day to conduct business, but something that might not get people's attention is this parking spot. Now, the spot isn't just a spot to park your car, but a place to meet up to sell items.
It's well lit. It's monitored 24/7 by surveillance cameras.
These benefits are what Public Information Officer Larry Flowers hopes will draw people to this meetup spot after a 48-year-old man was robbed at gunpoint on Blaze Drive trying to sell a gold chain off a Facebook Marketplace back in February. According to Murfreesboro police, the victim said one of the men asked to look at the chain. 2 others inside of a car nearby pointed guns at the victim. That was when the suspects took the chain and drove off. Murfreesboro resident Jacob Williams says that he buys and sells things on Facebook Marketplace, and while he's never had any problems, he tries to look out for himself.
It can be kind of frightening, you know. You never know who you're going to run into. You know, I have my own means of protection just in case, but I typically don't ever have to resort to anything like that.
Well, maybe you don't want to use this meetup spot for any online purchases. Flowers tells me that this spot right here also has another meaning. These spots have been used for parents in a divorce for a custody swap. And while there's no official number on how many people use this exchange zone, Flowers says he sees people use it daily. Meanwhile, Wilson had an important message to users.
Just be safe, know who you're selling to, who you're buying from, always take somebody with you.
Reporting in Murfreesboro, Noah Certion, Middle Tennessee News.
Yes.
It's been 2 weeks since Luann James was fired from her role as director of the Rutherford County Library System after she refused to relocate over 100 books to the adult section containing LGBTQ themes. James's lawyer says she's having a tough time.
She's not doing that well. She's worn out, stressed out, and very concerned about what she's going to do next.
Chuck Mangelsdorf is the attorney representing James. He says the former director moved to Middle Tennessee for that position with the intent to retire here. Now, in hindsight, James doesn't regret her decision.
She doesn't regret her decision at all. She believes that any librarian following their professional ethics and their duty to the patrons of a library would have done the same thing.
During the board's March 31st meeting, concerned community members brought up allegations made against board chair Cody York in December. In that December meeting, then director Luann James said York asked her to gather a list of families who use county libraries.
With all the names of the patrons, their addresses, their zip codes, their barcodes, how many children and how many adults were in each household, what they were checking out. I did not do it.
Now, James and her attorney believe that the firing was in retaliation for not only these allegations, but her refusing to relocate the books. Now, the library system is without a director. And I was able to get my hands on a copy of the library system's policy and bylaws, and in the nearly 10 pages that discuss the roles and function of the board, there's very little that talks about the search process. In the document, it says that the board is responsible for creating job requirements, hiring a director once a national or regional search is conducted. The board also has the power to hire and fire the director. With little guidance on what steps should be taken, it has some board members concerned with the future of the library system.
That would be a great question to have asked before we started this process and had talked about as a board before we fired our director. So I know the policy manual pretty well, and there are some gaps in it, so I don't know what the next few weeks will look like on it.
This hasn't been thoughtfully put into this level. You know, there should have been a lot of discussions.
That's why the executive committee of the library board got together last Monday to talk about hiring an interim director. The board says they don't want the interim to make big changes to the library. The committee ranked possible candidates and narrowed the search down to candidates already employed by the library system, suggesting HR manager David Kusher to the position. Now, the board says that they will continue to ask each person to step up as the interim director, and if that person says no, then they'll just move on to the next candidate. Now, for Cody York, I asked him if he wanted to respond to those allegations that were made against him in those previous board meetings. He declined to comment. Reporting in Murfreesboro, Noah Certion, Middle Tennessee News.